Welcome back to In Ohio Country today, and joining me now is Ted Gudorf from Gudorf Law Group in beautiful, what is that, Clayton?
Clayton, Ohio, near Englewood, not too far from the Dayton Airport.
Ted is originally from Auglaize County, Minster Way, one of 11 kids. I'm one of 11 kids. He represents the German Catholic. I represent the Irish Catholic.
We sure do.
But basically, you represent everybody when it comes to agriculture. And Ted's with us courtesy of our friends at Apple Farm Service and Brookside Labs. And we're here at the Farm Forum in Piqua, Ohio. And let's talk a little bit about your business. But first, let's talk about growing up in Minster with a family of 11.
You know, I was really lucky. My mom and dad were two of the greatest people, raised 11 kids. We didn't know we were poor, but we were poor. But, you know, one thing my parents said they wanted all of us to do was to go to college. So I was raised with that. So I've done a lot of college, and I'm really fortunate to have grown up in Minster and had those opportunities.
Yeah, great family, too. I had the pleasure of knowing your brother Dave and your sister Marlene and the Gudorf family with a great name in Minster, Ohio. And let's talk about that background growing up in Minster, the work ethic from Auglaize County.
You know, my dad had a small TV and appliance business, and, of course, all the kids worked in it, including me. And, you know, our primary customers were farmers. Back in the days, we used to deliver bottle gas. 100-pound bottle gas to the farmers. It's kind of a side business. But, you know, folks there know how to work hard, and they're disciplined, frugal, have a lot of faith. It's just a great place to grow up.
You know, as far as your law practice is concerned, one of the things that's important is that when you're working with your customers is to have an idea of who they are, to have an understanding of where they came from. And in your practice and what you're talking about today here at the Farm Forum has to deal with estate planning, and especially our farming community and our producers out there. So let's talk a little bit first about how you got started in your business, and we'll talk about your topics today. So let's talk about how Gudorf Law Group started.
You know, when I got out of the University of Dayton Law School, I thought I wanted to be a trial lawyer. So I went to work for a really big firm and did that for 7 years. And I found out that going to court, litigating, was not my cup of tea. I wanted something where it was a little more meaningful, a little more client-oriented, and a friend of mine suggested that I look into estate planning. That was in 1992. And so by 1998, it's all I did. I decided that I was going to specialize in estate planning and only estate planning. So since about 1998, that's all I've done. I represent people from all walks of life, some really wealthy, some not so wealthy. The bulk of my clients, middle America. Along the way, folks from back home found out that I was doing estate planning. They would come and see me, and I started my farm practice probably 20 years ago. Farm planning is particularly interesting because it's complicated. Not only do you have to do the estate planning, but you have to do the transfer planning. And you better make sure you know a lot about tax law, because you can mess it up from a tax standpoint while you're doing the estate planning. So you have to be really careful. So what I did is after I started 20-some years ago doing farm planning, I decided to go back to law school for 3 more years to learn all the tax stuff. And once I did that, my practice was rocking and rolling. And so we have to do estate planning, we have to do transfer planning, but we also have to do tax planning.
You know, one of the things you have to do, too, is stay on top of the tax code and the ever-changing landscape that involves. So let's talk about that, you know, being able to customize plans for your customers and still stay on top of the ever-changing world when it comes to the American tax code.
That's tough for most lawyers. And frankly, most lawyers did not grow up in a rural setting, so they really can't relate or connect with the farmer. And that's problematic. It's probably why the level of planning in our agricultural community is so sparse. My observation is that probably 90% of the estate plans that are done are not really up to speed with the current law. They really need a higher level of planning, and in large part is because of the changing environment we're in. The tax laws over my career have changed radically. We have a major tax change in this country every 11 months. Things like capital gains tax impacts highly appreciated land, particularly in today's environment. Making sure that we get a step up in tax bases on our land at the time we pass away, and we don't mistakenly give that land away without understanding that we're giving up the step up in basis is critically important. Good news is on the estate tax front, the laws have gotten far better than what they were when I started. So I'm able to focus a little bit more on the family issues. And I will tell you this, I don't think it's any mystery that the family issues that exist in our society today have impacted the agricultural community as well. So I'm really delving into what matters, what are our people's priorities, and I'm delving into those family issues and trying to help people solve what we do with a farm when we have families that are not necessarily all wanting to do the same thing, and they're not necessarily in sync with each other, and they're certainly not in sync with their parents.
Yeah, especially in today's world. I mean, there's a lot of people that are working off the farm as well as working on the farm. And then there are a lot of people that are choosing, as far as the younger demographics, not to continue the farm. So in dealing with the legacy that the parents want or creating a lasting legacy is really what it's all about.
You know, what you have to do when you do a plan is you have to build flexibility into the plan because things are going to change. So that becomes a little challenging. Fortunately, today we have tools that allow us to build a plan, maintain some flexibility. The key to the whole thing, we all want estate planning to be a one and done. It isn't. It's not an event, it's a process, and it's a lifetime process. So what I've done is I've created a process where we'll meet with the client every year, as long as they're alive, to maintain the plan. It's no longer a one and done estate plan. It's a process that lasts throughout our lifetime. And if we approach it that way and we simply meet every year or two to update the plan's going to work when we need it to work.
And communication is what it's all about, I'm sure. And, they need to meet more than once a year. You'll do that. But communicating that to the younger demographics and getting them on the same page as their elderly parents or their grandparents that own the farm, that's got to be somewhat of a challenge.
It's a real challenge. I have family meetings. I recently had one in New Bremen. Mom and dad, 7 kids, all around the dinner table, and it was me and them for 2 hours, and I presented the plan to everybody and then answered all of their questions. And then the kids got to ask questions of mom and dad got to ask questions of the kids, and we walked out of there hugging each other. Went to dinner, and it was a joyous day. I cannot tell you how powerful that was.
Sometimes you need somebody like yourself as an intermediary, if you will, among the family, because it's a difficult subject to broach. Nobody wants to talk about family finances with each other, and to get everybody in the same room and get them on the same page, you got to be pretty proud of that, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's what I'm really good at. That's what I do well. My clients give me really positive feedback from that. And, it has the side benefit that every now and then one of the kids says, maybe I should do some estate planning. And maybe they start when they're 40 years old, not wait till they're 70. They see the benefit of that.
So before we let you go, let's talk about where they can start. Where can families start to broach the question and the subject when it comes to estates and the finances and what they need to do for the future?
I think if you want my recommendation is that probably 4 times a year I put on a farm workshop. Attend a workshop. Try it out. It's 3 hours, so it's a long workshop, but you'll get a taste of it, and you'll decide whether that's for you or not. So go to a workshop. If you can't attend one in person, we have them available online, and then we can send that to folks. The other thing you can do is I created a podcast that's got what I call a mini farm university on it, and we got 4 podcasts just for farm planning. Another good place to start. If you're a little younger, maybe you're more familiar with the podcast than a workshop. I'm kind of still a little old school. I like the workshop, but my younger folks like the podcast. Both, I think, are excellent places to start. What you have to do, though, is you have to meet with a lawyer like me. You know, in Ohio, we have 55,000 lawyers, but only 162 of us who are board certified in estate planning. Wow. When we're dealing with these kind of situations, my advice to folks, work with somebody who's board certified. That's what you really want to do. Go to a workshop, listen to the podcast, get educated, and then go through the process.
Well, Ted, if anybody wants some more information about what you do and what you can do for them, where do they go?
Well, the best thing to do is just go to the website, DaytonEstatePlanningLaw.com, or check out our podcasts on Repair the Roof podcast. Just Google Ted Gudorf or Repair the Roof, and you'll be connected with us.
Ted Gudorf, one of the fine Gudorfs from Auglaize County, joining us today from Gudorf Law Group. Ted, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Dan. I appreciate it.
And we'll be back with more in Ohio Country today right after this.